Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your favorite hillbilly coming to you right out of Hog Holler, Tennessee here. Hog Holler graveyard. Looks like they just buried somebody over there. Hey, the wind's blowing, so I hope this comes through pretty good, and hope my sinuses don't get on your all's nerves. Try to wait them out a little bit, but they're not going away, so we'll just have to live with it. But here I am, back by not so popular demand. And it's that time of year. Let me tell you what, that cold wind is blowing right now. It is cutting through my bones. It feels like it's January instead of October out here. But it's my favorite time of the year. It's Halloween. It's the fall. It feels more like winter. It's the fall. How about that? What we got there? What's that say? Hope. That's right. Hope's what we got. What most of us got. Hope you got it too. I'm gonna tell y'all a story. I've got a couple of stories to tell. I may break it up in 2 different videos. If not, then I'll never get it to load. The longer the videos, seems like I've had them take a day and a half to load before. But go ahead and tell you one right now. First one comes to my mind. Walking up here, I saw some flowers on a grave back there, and I remember we used to have I don't know how she was kin to the family. I don't know, she was a cousin of maybe one of my aunts by marriage, or just maybe one of my cousins. I don't remember. She was always around. She was family. And she always, when I was young, she was one of these ones that always went to the graveyard with us and went on decoration. And, you know, back then, the older folks, they'd go to the graveyard every Sunday after church or something, it seemed like, and visit. I remember being dragged along with them. I was just young. But we had this one, I'll say cousin, and the story that happened to her was she was real bad about taking stuff off of people's graves. Now, she would take flowers, and if they were getting ready to throw the flowers away, you know, I could see getting them, you know, and planting them or whatever, putting them in water. But she got to where it wasn't just flowers. She would take whatever, like a vase. And what brings this to my mind, I remember being with my granny one time, and somebody left a little toy tractor on a tombstone. Now, I don't know if it was a kid who had died and it was his toy tractor, or if it was the daddy maybe, and he liked tractors or something. I don't know, but I remember wanting to get that. And that's when she told me this story. And I'd never forgot it. But she told me that she went to the graveyard, her and this particular cousin of mine, 2 or 3 of them, and said she was always getting stuff off people's graves. And one Sunday or Sunday evening, she saw this vase on this grave, and she got it. And she just come walking through the graveyard with it, you know. They didn't know what grave it come from or whose. They just knew she took it off somebody's grave. And I remember they said, my aunt said, you better not do that. You better quit doing that. Something's going to happen to you doing that. And she more or less just sort of laughed it off and allowed it. She'd done that for years. They're going to eventually throw it away, or it's going to break, or, you know, something will happen to it eventually anyway. So she might as well take it home, put it on her mantle where it can be seen. So she did. She took it home. And my aunt gave her that warning, you know, that, hey, you better not do that. But lo and behold, she done it. She done it anyway. Took it home with her. So, first 2 or 3 nights, everything's fine. Nothing goes on. And about the 4th night or so, she gets woken up in the middle of the night. She smells smoke, like something's burning somewhere. She gets up and looks around. Well, everything's fine. with her house, you know. And she looks outside, opens the door. Maybe the woods are on fire or somebody down the road. And she opens the door and she can't smell it outside. And it kind of dissipates and goes away. Well, a couple of nights later, she's in bed. And she hears somebody hollering for help. Help me, help me. Real faint. You know, like it's coming from real far away, but yet still kind of close. She goes all around her house, looks around, and it sort of just goes away. You know? Again, she's not making no connection here, and she don't think too much about it. So she carries on. And a night or two goes by again, and then she hears something outside her window. Sounds like something scratching on the wall. And she feels something, oh, I stepped in a hole. She feels something grab her foot when she's laying in the bed. She said she told my aunt, it felt like icy cold hands touched her leg. You know, in the middle of a warm night, she said that woke her up. And she's starting to put this together now. You know, she's never had no trouble before. And now she's got this vase. She's sitting there thinking, and she looks up on her mantle, and there sits that vase, sure enough. And she thinks, no, it can't be. I don't believe in that stuff. There's got to be an explanation for this. It's a coincidence. It's got to be. So, after a few more nights of stuff, some noises, and one night she says that she hears something faintly calling her name, and it seems to be coming from under her bed. And she calls one of my aunts over and tells her what's happening. She says, well, I'll tell you what's happening. She says, you brought something home with you from that graveyard. You better take that vase and put it back and just hope and pray to the Lord that satisfies whatever it is that you brought home with you. Because that just might not fix it, old gal. Well, she still plays it off. And Granny said 2 or 3 nights go by, and in the middle of the night, she's woke up by somebody beating on her door. She wakes up and hears that noise and smells smoke again. But this time, she sees smoke. Her house is on fire. Her mantle's on fire. A log had rolled out of her fireplace and rolled up against something and started to burn. And how this happened, she has no idea. But a whole wall inside her house was on fire, and somebody just happened to be walking down the road and saw it. Woke her up. The neighbors come running, and they got the fire out, luckily. Luckily it had rained pretty good, so stuff was damp. They got the fire out. So she calls my aunt, come and help me take this back to the graveyard. I'm ready. Take it back now. Well, they're all busy. They can't go. Evidently this lady couldn't drive. I don't remember seeing her drive ever. They couldn't take her then. So she called my granny. Will you take me? Yes. After what happened, she tells her what happened. Yes, I'll be over there in a little bit and we'll go. So she grabs the vase up and they go to the graveyard. And she takes it back, and she's scared now. So she wants Granny to walk with her to, you know, come with me to this grave, to put this back on this grave. I ain't going by myself. After what I've been through, I'm not going up there to this grave by myself. So Granny agrees to it, you know. So they get out the graveyard, and she goes through the graveyard carrying that vase. She comes up to the grave, sets it down on that grave, on the tombstone there. And Granny says, oh no, you didn't get this from that grave, did you? And the lady says, yeah, this is exactly where I got it from, right here. Granny said, when I was young, she said, Lord have mercy, she said, this woman died in a house fire. And they just stood there looking at each other. And she put it all together then, the cries for help. The smoke, smelling the smoke, the beating on the walls and doors, and then finally her house catching on fire. But Granny told her, said, yes, it was a big doings years ago. This woman burned up in her house. I don't reckon nothing ever bothered that lady since she put that back on the grave. I never did hear no more of anything bothering her. I asked my granny, and she said she didn't believe anything bothered her anymore, that she was very lucky that it didn't. But that's just one of these old stories here. It goes on up in these old mountains in Appalachia here. That's full of strange stuff and strange tales that happen up here. Seems like it happens more here than it does any other place. I don't know. These mountains are so old, and they hide something. They carry stuff. They keep stuff. It's just it's awful weird. I've had stuff happen to me. You know, we get people who want to know why they've never seen nothing, or nothing's ever happened to them. And you know, it's a double-edged sword. If you want to see something, you've got to be looking for it. You got to be paying attention. But then at the same time, if you're looking for it, if you can see it, then it can see you too. And that may be something you don't want. So be careful when you do go hunting and looking for stuff. And I say that because I don't know if I can't keep up with the stories I've told and what I've told y'all and what I ain't told you. But I remember when my son was young, he'd watch these ghost hunter shows, and he saw them do those EVP stuff, and he wanted to do that. He brought his phone in there, and he's messing around, and he's asking questions, and then rewinding it, playing it back, and asking questions, and of course nothing's coming across anything at all. And he tells me, you know, Dad, ask it something. So at the very end, he asked it 2 or 3 questions, and at the very end I asked one question. I said, are you afraid of us? You know, and he stopped it, and he rewound it and played it back, and didn't hear nothing. And then when I asked my question, I said, are you afraid of us? You could hear something whisper, no. And I'll lay my hand on the Bible to this day that I'm telling you the truth about that. He looked at me, and I looked at him. We were sitting side by side, so I knew it wasn't him that whispered it. He knew it wasn't me. He froze. He couldn't rewind it. He couldn't do nothing. He froze. And when we played it for my wife, she thought we was pranking her. She thought it was one of us. She didn't take it seriously. And he played it 2 or 3 times, and we heard it. Didn't sound like no voice we'd ever heard. You hear it whisper. But then 2 or 3 days later, that app that he had, that recording app, crashed, and he lost it. He had to delete the app. But I've had some of you all tell me that you've heard stuff in my videos up here, and I've rewound it and played it back, and been going along walking and telling a story, and it sounds like somebody's right beside me talking sometimes. It's an eerie feeling, especially telling you this up here middle of the night like this, or at dark time. It might as well be the middle of the night to me. But a lot of creepy old stuff goes on out here in these woods. So there's my first story. I'll break it up. If I can remember this other story, I'll record it and put it on here sometime after this one loads. But y'all have a happy and safe Halloween out there, and stay safe. And remember, if you come to these old mountains, please stay on the trails. Don't let nobody tell you that there's not any feral men in these woods up there, because your buddy here is going to tell you there is. There is. There was, and there still are. So please stay on the trail. I don't want to lose no followers that way. I don't want to lose any anyway, but I sure don't want to lose any of y'all that way. And guys, I'll start off here on my next story here in just a little bit. Thank you, and we'll catch up with you guys here in just a bit.